You're fucking broken, dude. But you're not going to admit it, are you? You think you've got it all figured out, right? Maybe you've been putting in the work at the gym, buying fancy cars, flexing on Instagram, but deep down, there's this sickness that's eating away at you, and you have no idea how to cure it. So yeah, I said it, you're broken. It's not the stuff that you're doing wrong that's ruining your life. It's the fact that you don't even know what's really wrong. You're walking around like a ticking time bomb of unresolved emotional trauma, and you're acting tough, but every decision you make is fueled by pain. Pain that you don't even know how to process. And don't even think about ignoring it. We both know that that shit never works. Every failed relationship, every bad decision, every time you exploded at the wrong person, it all ties back to this. The trauma you haven't dealt with is literally sabotaging you, making you feel like a shell of a man that you could be. But I get it. You don't want to look weak. You're worried that if you admit you're broken, everyone's going to know. And we both know how much pride you've invested in the idea of being unbreakable. But here's the cold, hard truth. Pretending you're fine is the exact thing that's keeping you stuck in this loop of self-destruction. You think you can muscle your way through trauma? Think again. No matter how much you bench press, no matter how many girls you date, no matter how many late night self-improvement books you read, that emotional baggage is still there, lurking beneath the surface. You can ignore your trauma for a while, but it will always catch back up to you. And when it does, it comes back 10 times worse. This is how men destroy their lives without even realizing it, because they don't even know what to face the thing that's haunting them. Do you want to keep living in denial? Because right now, that's all you're doing. You're acting like it's all just life, when in reality, you're constantly fighting an invisible enemy, the emotional damage that you haven't healed. But if you don't face it head on, you're fucked. No amount of success, wealth, or this alpha male status is going to save you. You will lose everything that you've built. Now ask yourself, are you really ready to confront it? Or are you going to keep pretending? Like, let me tell you this story that you've probably lived through yourself. Or maybe you know someone who has. And this isn't no fairy tale. This is real life. It's a mess. I want to tell you about this guy, Josh. Let's pretend he's a version of you. A guy on the outside looks like he has all of his shit together. He's working out. He's getting respect. He's climbing the corporate ladder. Women want this guy. But inside, he's a wreck. Josh grew up in a house where love wasn't a thing. His dad was emotionally unavailable. One of those tough love types who believed you should just man up and handle everything on your own. And his mom, detached, always too busy to be emotionally present. He learned early on that showing vulnerability was weak, that emotion was a burden. And by the time Josh was a teenager, he didn't know how to handle anything emotionally. Anger? Sure, that was easy. Resentment? Absolutely. He'd stuff it deep down, hoping it would go away, but it never did. Now, fast forward 15 years, and Josh is stuck in this cycle of unfulfilled relationships, career plateaus, and self-destructive habits. He's been through 2 divorces. His friendships are shallow at best, and he's starting to notice that no matter how hard he works, he just can't seem to get ahead in life. Josh doesn't even realize his emotional trauma is the cause of all of it. Every decision he makes, every failed relationship, every meltdown at work, it all traces back to how deeply wounded he is on the inside. You see, Josh is a classic example of emotional repression. He was raised with this idea that emotions are bad. They're going to make you weak. And so he built a life around avoiding his feelings. And the problem, avoiding his feelings didn't make them go away. It made them worse. And it's a tragedy because Josh could have been so much more if he dealt with his trauma earlier. The reason why Josh and guys like him, the reason why you can't get over it, because you're trying to fix a problem with the wrong tools. You're taking the same approach to your emotional healing that you take to your career, your body. This all or nothing mindset where you believe that if you push harder, do more, act tougher, you'll eventually break through. But it's bullshit. And it's setting you up for failure. It's just fucking tiring. Your emotional wounds will never heal until you confront them. And here's the worst part. Until you do, you're just going to repeat the same cycles over and over again. See, Josh's life, just like yours, stuck in a loop because of one thing. He doesn't know how to process the pain he's been carrying around his whole life. This is why you keep self-sabotaging. This is why you're afraid of commitment. This is why you have trouble trusting others. It all comes from that place of deep emotional neglect that you learned as a kid, and it's ruining you. Now it's time to wake up. No more excuses. You've been doing everything wrong. You've been fighting your own emotions like they're the enemy. And let me tell you how to change that before you ruin your life completely. The first step is fixing your emotional trauma. This part's simple. It's painful, but it's simple. You have to feel it. Sounds stupid, right? Let me explain. You can't just think your way out of emotional pain. It's not some puzzle you can solve with logic. You need to allow yourself to feel all the shit you've been avoiding. Every ounce of sadness, every moment of rage, every ounce of grief that's been buried deep down, it has to come up. And you need to allow it. You need to face it. When Josh finally came to terms with this, it was brutal, but it was the first step in his healing journey. He had to feel everything he'd been bottling up for years. Was it messy? Hell yeah. Did he cry? Absolutely. Was it uncomfortable as hell? Bet. But this is the part people don't want to hear. You can't heal if you refuse to face the darkness within you. You have to sit in it. You have to embrace the pain. After Josh accepted that, he started actively processing his trauma, not just through journaling. Don't even get me started on that stuff, okay? Not through meditating like a monk. He started doing hard emotional work, confronting the things he had avoided, confronting his past, and seeking out real strategies to get better. But he didn't stop there. The next part was even harder. He had to unlearn everything he thought he knew about strength. Society tells us that a man's strength is about being tough, being emotionless, and a complete stone cold badass, right? But that's the weakest way to live. True strength comes from being able to show up for yourself and others, even when you're broken. You need to unlearn that idea of masculinity bullshit. Real men embrace vulnerability, and it's time that you stop running from it. All right, you've heard the truth. Now it's time to act. This shit is not easy. And it will not be a quick fix. And it sure as hell won't be comfortable. But if you want to stop living a lie, to stop being the guy who's constantly running from his trauma, it's time to do something about it. Here's my challenge for you. Take the first step. Acknowledge that you're broken. You've been lying to yourself, telling yourself that you're fine, but you're not. And the longer you keep living this way, the worse it's going to get. If you do the work, however, if you really take this seriously, you can heal. And that is why I'm offering you a chance to get coached, to work with someone who's been where you are and knows what it takes to turn this around. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This isn't going to be easy, but I'll be there with you every step of the way. This is your shot. Take it. Click the link that's below down in the description, and you can book a free, no pressure, no obligation, just a time for two guys to talk bullshit, just to see where you're at, see if I can add some value to your life.